Where do you find clay? Clay is all over the place. Most likely, you will have it somewhere really close to you. If you're in a coastal area, start looking for cliffs. Any kind of cliffs that run right onto a beach with a short drop should be easy enough to get at. And those are the ones I have the most experience with. So with cliffs, you have to be really careful. Do not cut into the cliff. Do not go crazy and take a load of sediment from the beach. So what you're looking for is this kind of runoff from the cliff. It'll be from winter, some kind of collapse in the cliff that has happened naturally, and there'll be kind of a deposit of sediment from the cliff, and it'll be sitting more on the beach. You don't want to take anything that's like packed into the cliff, or you're going to be messing with the erosion there. It'll probably affect more erosion, and we do not want to do that. If you have a garden, under your first top layer of soil, you will probably find a bed of clay right under that. So if you dig a foot or two under your soil, you'll probably have a bed of clay right there. You'll also find it in any area where you've had any kind of constant erosion. So in a river, in a valley where there was glacial activity, by the sea obviously, and you'll also have it in most gardens in Ireland. Another place to look out for clay is if you live near any kind of building site, so either probably a residential one might let you have a look, but even if you are ever getting any work done, or if you see a site near where you live, anywhere where they're digging into the ground, you might be able to find some clay and ask for a sample. I spoke to some ceramicists in Vancouver who were on this place in the middle of the city called Granville Island, which was a man-made island made from silt from the bottom of the creek there. And they said when there was a site there, they were able to take some clay out from the ground from the site, and they created glazes out of it, and yeah, were able to fire it as clay. So yeah, anytime you see any extraction happening where they're digging into the ground deeper than just the bed soil, you will be able to find clay. I'm going to show a soil map of Ireland. You can find these probably for any country if you Google it. This is the one I have for Ireland. There's a word here called gley, Gley, and that is a type of soil which means that it has a high clay content. So you'll know in those areas on the map where it says gley that you're very likely to find clay soil in your garden. But if you aren't in any of those areas, you should still be able to find it. If you do find clay in your garden, it'll be a slightly different and longer process of refining, but you still do what I'm telling you to do. It just might take a little bit more extra stages to do it. You'll know the difference between clay and any other material because of how it sticks together. So, for instance, with soil and clay, soil is usually a darker colour, dark brown, it crumbles, it has a lot of maybe live matter in it, like worms and plants and roots. Clay, on the other hand, is a lot denser. It will stick together. Usually you can tell by the colour of it as well. Sometimes you'll be out walking, you might see an exposed edge. You'll notice like a striking colour, either a really deep brown or a reddish kind of colour, and the surface of it looks quite smooth. That is most likely got a high clay content. If you think you found clay and you're not sure, here's a few things to look at to see if you have found it. So first of all, during winter and during summer, it will be slightly different. In the summer, especially now when it hasn't really rained too much, it'll be really dry and dense and packed. So this means it'll be kind of crumbly, especially if it has been it's a runoff from a cliff or anything like that. It'll be kind of in like little shards or kind of rock forms. But if you do find something that looks like a block of clay right now, you should it should have a really smooth surface and also be able to break apart. So I'll show you an image of the clay I found recently in Sligo. It's definitely clay because you can break it apart and you can kind of feel the clayness of it. If you've worked with clay before, it'll kind of come off a bit on your hands. And during the winter, when it's a bit wetter, you will find it kind of in this like muddy pile, usually coming off a cliff or wherever you're finding it, and you should be able to actually like grab a piece of it. The test to make sure that it's clay is you want to be able to roll it into like a sausage shape and then curve it around your finger. That just means that it has enough clay content to be able to like stick together and also be a little bit elastic. There will still be a lot of sediment in it, so it might break up a little bit, but if you can like roughly roll it into a ball, roll it into a sausage shape, curve it around your finger, you'll know if you've worked with clay before that it's clay. The next size particle up from clay is called silt. It is very close to clay, but it's a lot harder and denser, but a lot of the time you'll find clay with a high silt content. I found this here in Sligo and I'm finding it really hard to actually break apart, so I don't know if it's suitable for refining. So you might actually find something that looks like clay and you bring it home and you put it in water and it doesn't really break down that well, so that just means it has a really high silt content. You might want to go back to where you were and try find kind of more softer and breakable bits of the clay, and then it should be easier to refine. If it's really hard to break up, it's probably got a high silt content, but it's being held together by clay. So there's some clay in there, and that's when it gets a bit more tricky to distinguish the difference between something that has a lot of clay in it and something that has a lot of silt in it. The silt will make it hard to break apart, basically, at the moment when it's dry. When it's wetter, the silt will make the kind of sausage or anything you try and make on the beach will make it break up way easier. So you want that kind of like little sausage to be easy to kind of keep together. The biggest thing I always want to think about with my material is that it has a relation to my body as well as the object you want to create. So never like take any more than you can lift or hold. So you're not going in with like a crane or a machine, because this is like a common natural resource, and you know, if you're doing it on your own, you're not being as invasive as buying from a company that's going to be have a huge mining project somewhere. So that's how I weigh it off in my head. Like if I'm doing it on my own on a really small scale and I'm making sure I'm doing it carefully, that's okay. But obviously if you'll know when you're kind of pushing it, if you're kind of cutting into an area that you shouldn't be, or if you're taking more than you need to, or and like selling it off or something. There's kind of a morality there that you need to respect. If you do find clay, don't start telling everybody about it. Take as much as you need. Do it as a bit of a play and a lesson into the process of clay. I would be wary in just like taking a load of it because you don't know how you're affecting the area. It's like rocks on a beach. We shouldn't take too many. We're all going to maybe pick up one or two pebbles from the beach, but we shouldn't be like constantly taking and taking and taking. That being said, I do think you can create a balance with it. The way I think about it is there's a factory somewhere that's creating a whole lot of clay from one mine in one place, and we're buying that and we're completely disconnected from the process of it. So I think this is a really good thing to do, to learn about where clay comes from. Yeah, if we're taking a little bit from a local place, it's okay as long as you're respectful of how much you're taking and not taking too much and not, you know, mining and digging into the cliff and ruining it or anything like that. So please be kind to the environment you're taking it from.